Hello again, and welcome back. If you have seen Agatha all along, then I'm sure you'll understand why it has become one of my favorite Marvel shows. I was genuinely impressed by how much effort Jack Schaefer and the creative team actually put into incorporating real pagan practices into the story. Now, yes, I know that according to the show, Agatha and Nicholas wrote the ballad during their travels, but we know that it was Marvel creators who actually did the work. So in this two-part video, I'm going to be breaking down both versions of the ballad, Agatha and Nikki's travel song, and then Lorna Woo's rock cover.
Seekest thou the road to all that's foul and fair?
The ballad starts off with a direct nod to the road itself. In the comics, the Witch's Road is a realm of dark creatures and untamed magic that is shaped by the goddess of witchcraft herself and her companion, Chaos. The phrase foul and fair is actually a reference to Macbeth, where values are often inverted and nothing is as it seems.
Gather, sisters, fire, water, earth, and air.
When building a coven, everybody contributes something. In this case, Lilia was the air, Billy was the earth, Jen was the water, Alice was fire. The invocation of the elements in reverse actually symbolizes chaos, which is super fitting for Agatha because Nicholas was somehow manifested from her love with death, but his life offended natural law.
Darkest hour, wake thy power, earthly and divine.
Darkest hour is actually a reference to the moon phases. It is midnight on the night of a new moon, but weirdly in the show, Agatha's coven calls to the road at sundown, which is just another clue that Agatha, 1, doesn't follow traditional rules, and 2, the road isn't even real. But this also suggests that the witch's powers comes from a divine source, unlike sorcerers.
Burn and brew with coven true, and glory shall be thine.
Burn and brew is obviously another reference to the witches of Macbeth. The rest of this line references loyalty and trust that a coven must have with each other in order to pass the trials of the road.
Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road.
This chorus repeats 3 times, which is a deliberate use of numerology. In witchcraft, 3 represents harmony, mind, body, soul, birth, life, and death, etc. This repetition amplifies the witch's intention and power, which then Agatha exploits for her own gain.
Circle sown with fate, unlock thy hidden gate.
This line builds on that amplification, and had the road been real, this would have been the call to officially open the door to the road. Once the gate appears, the fates of the coven are now intertwined. Agatha uses this as a lure which draws witches in with the promise of shared power, only to betray them because that's what Agatha does.
Marching ever forward, neath the wooded shrine.
The woods are a pretty classic witch trope for mystery, power, transformation, and connection with nature. In many pagan cultures, the forest is a representation of the boundary between the mortal realm and the spiritual realm. In many stories, you'll hear about fairies and tree nymphs being chased by frolicking satyrs. For Agatha and Nicholas, though, the wooded shrine was actually a reference to the nomadic life that they lived together.
I stray not from the path, I hold death's hand in mine.
I know this line is kind of grim, but it means that death is always with us. whether we want to acknowledge this or not. Holding death's hand means acknowledging your mortality while still moving forward and appreciating every single day. For Agatha, I think it references Nicholas's fate because he was born out of such an intense love between Agatha and Rio, but destined to die young because he was the son of death. Carrying his hair in her locket was Agatha's way of keeping him with her after the fact.
Primal night, give it sight, familiar by thy side.
Primal night actually refers to the time of deep connection with raw, untamed forces of magic. It's simply a time where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual realms are considered blurred. The second half of this line refers to familiars, which are kind of like Salem from Sabrina, but they are not exclusively animals. If you think about it, Nicholas was his mother's familiar until he died, and then Billy became that person during this show.
If one be gone, we carry on, spirit as our guide.
This last line of verse 2 is essentially telling us that as we travel together as a coven, if one of us ends up dying, then the rest of us must continue in that person's name. With spirit as your guide, you are respecting the power of death, who guards and guides your soul from this life to the next life. I am also very confident in thinking that they use this line as a clever nod to Agatha's spirit witch power.
Blood and tears and bone, maiden mother crow.
These three make up the core essence of life. Blood sustains us, tears cleanse our sorrows, and our bones connect us to our ancestors. Together, they form a foundation of the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This is the sacred balance that Rio was actually referring to. The second half, maiden, mother, and crone, are the three archetypes that represent the stages of a woman's life. The maiden representing the beginning of life, youth, and associated with the waxing moon. The mother representing fertility and nurturing of life, associated with the full moon. And finally, the crone representing wisdom, endings, and death, and she is associated with the waning moon. I would like to reiterate that the crone is the final stage of a woman's life, and when she dies, those stages are over.
The road is wild and wicked, winding through the wood.
This last verse seems to describe a lot about the environment of the road itself. It can also refer to the struggles and obstacles that we face as humans when we're walking the path of life.
Where all that's wrong is right, and all that's bad is good.
From the Marvel comics, the witches who walk this road face challenges that force them to reevaluate their perceptions. For me, this line feels like a call back to life before religious oppression redefined cultural narratives around witchcraft. Originally, witchcraft was never seen as bad or wrong, but just a sacred practice rooted in elemental harmony. It was only through that lens of fear that these practices were demonized and suppressed.
Through many miles of tricks and trials, we'll wander high and low.
Just like the lyrics say in this part, walking the road of life requires facing numerous obstacles, and you either survive or you give up. I feel like this line is very self-explanatory. The phrase wander high and low, though, definitely feels like a Wizard of Oz reference.
Tame your fears, a door appears, the time has come to go.
Confronting your fears is the first step towards transformation in any situation. But this isn't referring to standard daily fears. This is referring to the phobias that permeate your soul and affect your daily life. The things like extreme trauma, survivor's guilt, or stereotypes. Reference to the door, I think, is just a callback to the previous lyric when you invoke opening the door.
Follow me, my friend, to glory at the end.
This last line is pretty obvious as well. It's just saying that life requires companionship and teamwork to be happy and successful. Stay tuned for part 2 of the ballad breakdown, where we are going to be looking at Lorna's version of the ballad next week. Make sure to like and subscribe our page so you get your notifications, and I will see you next time.